Ladies and gentlemen, this silly season edition of the C&J Speedway Review is dedicated to the memory of my best friend, Jeremy Dalton, who passed away 7 years ago this week at the age of 39. Jeremy and I shared a love for a lot of things: football, hockey, and music and racing. He was a Rusty Wallace fan up through and including his retirement, and then he became a Dale Jr. fan and cheered his butt off for Dale until Jeremy's passing on December 11th, 2011. He was my moral compass. He was my best friend. He was just an all around good guy. And tonight, as we talk about racing, the season that is going to be, the silly season that is happening, I just want to remember him and dedicate this show to him. So get ready for the silly season edition of the C&J Speedway Review.
Welcome back, folks, to the C&J Speedway Review. On the other side, which is me, my name is Corey Huffnagel. And yeah, it's actually kind of funny because I would say, I think within like the last week or so, I've been actually kind of thinking to myself, like, when is February and when's Daytona? But no, but we've had some really good times in 2018. We've had some good moments, some bad moments, and we've had a lot of surprising moments, from a seven-time champion not winning a race all season to a underdog who ended up dismantling the big three, to one driver who team is going to be at wit's end with the team closing down. But we'll just have to see what 2019 brings us, and it should be very exciting, no question about it. So let's go to the hotline now. Always a pleasure to talk to the one and only Chris Burns. And Chris, I can just pretty much say right now, I'm still on this I don't know how you should say it, like on this stance where I'm just like, when is Daytona?
I feel your pain and I understand it. Not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, I couldn't watch my Falcons because it was an out of market game. Here in Connecticut, I don't have the luxury of seeing out of market games unless I go to the fantastic man cave at the Azarju Mini Mansion with Mark Azarju. But I had no other alternative. It was no racing. I could watch movies all day, or I could watch a football game that wasn't mine, which I did, and it was the Patriots. And not that I have a problem with the Patriots, but
Oh man.
they're not my team. But in the spirit of tonight's episode, Corey, what would you say if I told you I have a beer with your name written all over it?
Well, I think that would be great.
Well,
From what it looks like.
this was a gift from producer Eddie Focus for my birthday this past weekend, and it is Wachusett Mass Soul. And it's got the little Marky Mark looking guy on it. It's a very tasty IPA, but when you say this word really fast, you get masshole. And
Okay.
you are my favorite masshole ever. So
Thank you. Thank you.
congratulations on that. And as we get ready to break down some silly season, I want to say thank you to everybody who reached out and wished me happy birthday, including Corey and Chelsea. Chelsea, I love you wherever you are. And I figured I'd beat to that punch. Had a fantastic birthday weekend, extended 3 days off. I ate a bunch. I drank a bunch. I had some fun. Got some really great books. Got some fantastic gifts from some of my friends. And not that gifts mean a whole lot, but the best thing is that when people reach out and remember you. So thank you for that. And then at the top of the program, you heard that December 11th, yesterday, is a very sad day in my life. The day I lost my best friend 7 years ago. So we're going to have
Mm.
some fun tonight in his honor. But before we do that, Corey, bring us our first news story of the day.
So the first and latest one that just came out today is Fox Sports announced that Jamie McMurray is going to be an analyst for the 2019 season. So what his role is going to be is he's going to be an analyst for NASCAR Race Day and of course NASCAR Race Hub. So McMurray at 42, there was talks on him running the Daytona 500 in February, possibly driving a third car for Chip Ganassi, and from what I heard today, I guess in his phone interview on Sirius XM Speedway, I guess him and Chip are trying to work some things out to make it official and everything. But it would be pretty cool to see McMurray race again. But of course, he said that the Daytona 500 is going to be the last race of his career, and then he's going to move on to television. But I think if you look at McMurray, I mean, he's had a decent career. I mean, he's won the Daytona 500. He's won a Brickyard. He's won at Talladega a few times. And I think he'd be an okay analyst if you look at it. But I mean, as far as I know, I think he's going to go great with the Fox team.
I definitely agree. With Jamie McMurray, he's very well spoken. He's smart. He is articulate. There's a lot of things about Jamie McMurray I like. And you look at guys who have transitioned into the booth, like Jeff Gordon, Dale Jr., Jeff Burton, Dale Jarrett. A lot of those guys, they bring something extra to the races. If you listen to the radio side, especially MRN, the voice of NASCAR,
Yes.
You'll hear Rusty Wallace, and all of those guys know how to bring you into the car and tell you what's going on. The best analysts are obviously former drivers. One exception, Larry McReynolds, who was a crew chief, is fantastic at telling you, here's what I see, here's what I think should be done. So he might be the exception to the rule. Ray Evernham for a while did a little bit of the commentary, didn't like it. He's just not a well-spoken human being. That's
Right.
not a knock against him. He is smart as a whip. You don't win three or four. Well, I think he had three Winston Cups under his belt with Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
You don't win three cups without being a smart guy. I would love to see if Chad Knaus someday could make that transition into the booth, but without all speculation aside, Jamie McMurray is a fantastic fit for FS1 and Fox Sports.
I do agree.
But one of the other news stories that I came up with this week is we've been talking about it for a while. Is that Truck Series champion Brett Moffitt was released by Hattori Racing. They informed Moffitt they will hire another driver who can bring funding to the team next season. Stop the story. You're wanting to bring someone who can bring funding to the team by releasing the current champion. That's like wiping before you poop. It doesn't make any sense at all. Moving forward, team owner, I'm going to butcher this name, Shige Hattori,
Shiggy
had
Hattori.
Shiggy Hattori, thank you, had
Yep.
sponsorship woes that threatened to shut his team down at various points during the season. The team survived and Moffitt won the Truck Series championship. Even in the championship celebration, Hattori was clear he could not bring back Moffitt unless the team found outside funding. The funding will come from a yet to be announced driver who is bringing his own financial backing. Okay, I kind of get it. It sounds like the 2003 then Florida Marlins. You want to go back to the 1997 Florida Marlins who win a championship, disassemble the team. This doesn't make any sense to me. Hattori was clear he could not bring back Moffitt unless the team was funded from the outside. Well, where do you think the funding comes from? From sponsorships, from marketing deals. You get Brett Moffitt out there, you get him recognized. Hattori said Wednesday that the team faced numerous challenges in getting to the racetrack each week in 2018 and will celebrate the championship. He also added that he hopes the results of Moffitt and the team benefit us all in the future. The only person that's going to benefit from this, honestly, is Hattori Racing. I don't see how this is beneficial to Brett Moffitt. We've been screaming all year, get Brett a full-time ride. Give Moffitt a ride. And now the team that backed him this year is basically telling him, hey, thanks for the trophy. You're gone, kid. Thank you, F you, bye. What do you make of all this?
See, I think if you look at it, I mean, I kind of thought that he was leaving the team in November, but then when I found out that the team released him, it's pretty much all right. So he didn't choose to leave the team. It's just basically the team just kicked him to the curb. But I just look at Brett Moffitt this year, and you look at his stats. I mean, 6 wins, 13 top fives, and 13 top tens, and an average finish of 8.9. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But deciding the fact that even though this team didn't have a full time sponsorship, and even though they didn't bring in the money throughout the whole entire season, I mean, let's face it, they did win the championship, no question about it. But I kind of look at this and I think to myself, all right, so now they're going to get a driver that has more funding. But the question is, who do you think that driver is going to be? And I think from what it looks of it, it's probably going to be a guy that's going to be coming up from like the K&N ranks, and then pretty much somebody who's like 18 years old that's ready to go and pretty much just has the money and everything and so forth. But what I actually learned from this, back in the day, it used to be like drivers coming up the ranks used to have talent.
Hmm.
Nowadays it's mostly about the money. And we've talked about this before. It takes $30 million to sponsor a race car. I mean, yeah, I get it. I mean, look at Hattori Enterprises. I mean, they went the whole entire season without a full time sponsor, and even though they didn't rack up a lot of money that goes with it, they still won the championship, no question about it. But I just look at Brett Moffitt right now, and I'm still going to say at this point, somebody's going to pick him up, whether either in Xfinity or in the Cup Series. I don't care what team he goes to. I just want to see this kid have another shot in whatever series it is, and just go from there.
I want for Brett Moffitt a full time truck ride. I want full time sponsorship, and I want him to win back to back truck championships. And when he hoists that trophy next November in Homestead Miami Speedway, I want him to look dead in the camera and tell Hattori Racing, "You done blew it, AA Ron or
but
Shiggy or whatever your name is."
Yeah. But yeah, I think if you look at it, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see who Attori Enterprises picks for their driver next year.
Yeah, good point.
But now here's my other question. So let's
Yes.
say if they pick a driver that has funding, and then all of a sudden the team does bad next year, then what do you do?
You have to save face somehow because you done shoved away driver. You now have brought in young guy of the week. Look, not everybody's going to be a Jeff Gordon or Joey Logano or someone that's going to come in and make an immediate impact. There's going to be a bump in the road. I dare say I'm going to watch Hattori Racing really closely next year to see whoever this yet unnamed driver is, if he's going to have the same success. And look, 6 wins, a multitude of top fives, top tens, and a championship. You don't just pick a guy out of thin air to replace that.
Yeah.
So I want to watch. I want to see how Hattori Racing does because, like you said, back in the day, it was talent. You may not have been the richest kid on the block, but you had more drive, desire, and determination than the next guy. And that's how you got ahead. Now it's whose daddy's got a lot of money. Look, I can point at Paul Menard all day, but Paul Menard has won races. Paul Menard is a battler, but Paul Menard has his daddy's hardware store plastered all over his car.
Right.
So in that instance, that's the perfect storm. That's, talent, money, it meets in the middle. Whoever Hattori brings in, that kid better have the last name of either Trump or Branson, because outside of that, you're not going to buy yourself a championship, Hattori Racing.
Absolutely.
All right, so what kind of news story do you have for us in the next segment?
So the next one, this one involves start times for the Monster Energy Cup Series next year. So NASCAR announced, I believe, yesterday that they have announced some of the start times for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series races for next season. So a few other changes. So to stay the handful for the 30, 60-minute variations of the previous schedule. So here are some notables for some of the start times this year. This one involves Las Vegas. So the playoff opener for the Las Vegas race will now start at 4 o'clock instead of 3, because of course back in September they had that late summer heat, which was obviously like ridiculous and everything and so forth. So now with a later start time, it's going to be cool. It's going to be under the lights and everything and so forth. But so that's one thing I'm kind of interested about. And I think 4 o'clock there. Actually, 4 o'clock Eastern time would probably be like 1 over there. But yeah, so I think it's like 7 o'clock uh, for the time for the Cup Series race. And then so the Daytona 500 that will start at 2:30 o'clock Eastern time. The Texas race March 31st will go from 2 o'clock to 3. The New Hampshire race July 22nd will go from 2 to 3. And then of course the October race from Martinsville will shift for a half hour later to 3 o'clock, which means longer stretch, which they want to end the race under the lights.
You know, I talk a lot about on the Loki and Jabroni show the wussification of America, and some of these start times I get, I understand it. I may or may not agree with them, but whatever happened to race car drivers being tough? Do you think that Mark Martin, Rusty Wallace, Richard Petty, Fireball Roberts, on down the line, cared about how hot it was in their car? Do you think that the people in the crowd cared about how hot it was? No, you were enjoying fantastic NASCAR entertainment.
Yeah.
But now, is your phone ringing?
Yeah.
You owe the listeners a beer. That's a long-standing Loki and Jabroni rule, and you have broken it, my friend.
Yep, I do.
Look, I get it. At the end of the day, you want the fans to be comfortable. You want the drivers to be comfortable. You want maximum performance and maximum enjoyment. But part of being a NASCAR driver is being able to handle these adverse conditions. If you can't sit in a car where the ambient temperature on the outside is 88 degrees, which means the sun is blaring down on track, which means the track temperature is about a buck 10, and inside the car it's a buck 30, they have cool suits, they have ventilation, they have every modern technology that some of our past champions never had. So they're already ahead of the game. But why now are we just moving things all willy nilly to make sure that everybody's happy, everybody's healthy? I'm going to name my kids Squire Sebastian Senator. Everything's wonderful. I'm not a fan. I will buy the Las Vegas one because it was a scorcher, 100
Yeah.
degrees regular temperature. Beating down on the track, now it's a buck 20, which means in the cars it's 140 to 150. You can have all the cool suits you want. You could be packed in a suit full of ice, and within 20 minutes, all you're going to have is slushy water, and you're going to be screaming
Yeah.
to be cooled off. So the Vegas one I buy. I love more night races. I love more races starting in the day, ending at night. But when it's all said and done, stop wussifying NASCAR, please. I'm
But,
Chris Burns, and I approve that message.
but yeah, so 7 o'clock, Las Vegas, September 15th. So the race would be at 7 at night.
All right, that's not so bad. September race in the desert. Oh, that'd be good. I'll buy that one.
Yeah.
Giving that a solid buy. Swig a beer for the working man. All right. So, in case you guys missed it, 2 days after he announced he was leaving Stewart Haas Racing, Kurt Busch has a new home, and the 2004 Monster Energy Series champion will join Chip Ganassi Racing for the 2019 season, driving the number one, formerly sat by Jamie McMurray, and he will bring his Monster Energy sponsorship with him. That car looks gorgeous, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Kurt says we've had the good fortune of having a lot of great. I'm sorry. Chip Ganassi said we've had the good fortune of having a lot of great drivers here at CGR across all forms of racing, and Kurt Busch adds to that list. He's a former NASCAR Series champion, Daytona 500 winner, and I still believe he has the burning desire to win races and compete for a championship. In addition, getting to work with and represent a brand like Monster Energy gives it even that much more excitement. Now, Busch's departure from SHR, along with the sponsor, was reported back in August, I believe, by
Yeah.
Motorsport.com.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stats on Busch in 5 seasons with at the SHR, he won 6 races, at least one per year, including the 2017 Daytona 500. That series standing with SHR was 7th, both in 2016 and this past season. He has 638 career starts on the Cup Series, 30 wins, 137 top 5s, 280 top 10s, 27 poles, and that includes 5 this past season, the most of anybody in 2018. Not only is Kurt Busch, in my opinion, a Hall of Famer, where Jamie McMurray and Casey Kane may or may not be, and we can debate that in just a few minutes. This is a really good fit for Kurt Busch. I don't know what the dynamic was between him and Stewart Haas Racing. I thought he was happy. Obviously, a mutual agreement says Kurt Busch says bye, Stewart Haas says bye. They hug, they clean out their desks, and now he's with
Yeah.
Ganassi. Over under. My question to you: over under on him winning 3 races next season, because that's what I see for him in a
It's
Ganassi
gonna
car.
I think it's going to be over. And I think if you look at it, I mean, not only Kurt Busch is going to be a one to watch next year, but I really think Chip Ganassi is going to be underneath the radar next season because if you look at it, Kurt Busch is coming to the team, and now you got Kyle Larson, who's going to be in his, like, what, 4th year, 5th year? I don't know how many years it's been for Ganassi, but they're going to be questioning him, saying, all right, is this kid going to perform well next year? Is he going to rebound after this season? We don't know. But not only their Cup team is going to be a one to watch, but now you got their Xfinity team that's going to be a one to watch too because you have Ross Chastain that's coming over to the 42 car, which I'd have to say, in my opinion, the kid did a really great job driving the 42 this season when he won at Las Vegas and then did well everywhere else. But now this is going to be a full season for him in that 42. So now the question is, how is he going to do this year? And quite frankly, I would be surprised if he makes the championship 4 without question.
Mm-hmm. I lost you for a second there, but I'm agreeing with everything I heard. Ganassi is poised right now to be not only Kurt Busch being a driver to watch, but being a team to watch.
Yeah.
Not only on the Cup Series, but the Xfinity Series as well. They're putting all the pieces together. This could be, Kurt Busch comes in, maybe he mentors Kyle Larson a little bit. Hey, Kyle, you had a great season 2 years ago. Last year, not so much. Let's work together. Let's make this happen. Kind of like Rusty Wallace did with Jeremy Mayfield before his meth addiction.
Yeah.
Kind of like Rusty Wallace and Ryan Newman had for a while until they had a falling out. Much like Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson had that mentor-student mentality. At some point, you kind of wait, and in Jimmy Johnson's case, the student surpasses the teacher.
Yeah.
This could happen with Ganassi, and if they play their cards right, from what I read, I believe it's a 1-year deal, but this could balloon into 3 or 4 more years. Kurt Busch is still, in my opinion, relatively young. I believe he's late 30s.
Yeah.
So when you look at some of the guys that have been running for the championship, Martin Truex, late 30s, Kyle Busch, mid 30s, Kevin Harvick, 43. By the way, Kevin Harvick and I share a birthday. That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is. And Ryan Newman also shares our birthday too, so it was great to bring up his name in that as well. But old guys rule. Let's be honest. Yes, it's great to see the young blood, but Kurt Busch can bring so much to Ganassi that maybe none of us are seeing. You and I are, of course, because we're the smart guys.
Yeah.
But some people might think, oh, that's a stopgap for Kurt Busch. It's part of his retirement tour. I say he wins 3 races easily in 2019.
I'd say for me, I want to say 3, but I could probably see him win maybe 4. I'm gonna say 4 on my list.
Okay, fair enough. So bring us our next news story, Corey Huffman.
Alrighty. So after that whole geez, I can just tell you this, that phone call pretty much came like right out of nowhere. And see, it's one of those moments where like somebody calls you at like the wrong time. That just happened. Which I kind of thought to myself, like, yeah, I'm gonna have a long discussion with him when this is over because you could just pretty much.
Was it Zach?
No, it wasn't Zach.
All right. Was it?
But I'll give you a really good guess though.
Does he wash cars?
Yes.
Oh, you rat bastard! Don't call during our broadcast, you sudsy person.
Yeah, Pat. Don't end up calling our
Seriously.
show next time unless you have a racing question. But
Now, if you do call the show, it better be with an apology because you said Corey is the star of the show. He is everything about everything. We're a team, bro. If he
yeah.
fails, I fail, and if he succeeds, I succeed. That's the way it goes. Loki and Jabroni, C&J Speedway Review, Basement Quest, and coming up in January, I'm going to announce this at the end of the show, a fourth show on the Focus Digital Network, which you guys, I think all of you can enjoy it. We'll find out. End of the show. Corey, don't let me forget.
All right, no problem. So next news report. So I guess Dale Jr. is going to be back down in Daytona in February. So remember back this past February when he was the Grand Marshal for the 500?
Yes.
So now he's going to be driving the pace truck for the Daytona 500 next year. So the all-new 2019 Chevy Silverado. So it's great to see Dale Jr. back down in Daytona doing whatever he could do, like whether if it's broadcasting or whether if it's, promoting the 500 or everything and so forth. But I'm really excited that he's doing that.
Who's more iconic in Daytona than someone with the last name Earnhardt? You have Dale Jr. who's won there. You have his father who's won there.
Yep.
You have now others coming up through the ranks. Jeffrey Earnhardt, yes, eventually may find his way to victory lane in Daytona, but look, people loved Dale Sr. People continue to love Dale Jr. to the point where I found out this interesting stat not long ago. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is still in the top 10 in merchandise sold for a driver who did not get behind the wheel of a Cup car this season. Crazy.
Right. Yeah. Crazy.
That is dedication. That is amazing love from the fans. And, look, he's the best guy for the job. If it were me, and I'm the guy who decides who does anything at Daytona, I'd make sure that Dale Earnhardt Jr. was there for the truck race, Xfinity race, the Cup race. If there's a commercial to be made about the Daytona 500 or the Coke Zero 400 in July, I make sure Dale Jr.'s face and voice is all over it. Have him do the voiceover. Have him say, "Hi, I'm Dale, and you can come to the race," which is an inside joke between me and Angelo. When we went to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, you get to pick who your guide is. It's all video. I, of course, picked Darrell Waltrip. She picked Dale Earnhardt Jr., and she waves her little thing in front of the gimmick, and there he is standing there, and he goes, "Hi, I'm Dale, and I'm going to walk you through the NASCAR Hall of Fame." And to this day, we still do that every now and again. "Hi, I'm Dale." So Dale Earnhardt Jr. should be all over everything involved in NASCAR racing. He's not my favorite. I don't hate the man. I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer easily.
Yeah.
But if there's something that involves racing right now, he is still fresh in the minds and the hearts of the people. Put him out there as much as you can. Have him drive the pace truck. Have him wave the flag. Have him sweep the pit boxes. Whatever. Have him sell Cokes to the people in the stands just to get him out there and to promote the product. Dale Jr., whatever he does, is good for the sport of NASCAR.
I definitely agree.
All right, so I'm going to go over some silly season silliness, obviously, because, well, it's silly season. I got 7 drivers listed here. Old ride, new ride, and let's go through the list. Obviously, at the top of my list is Daniel Hemrick, whose previous ride was the number 21 Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet in the Xfinity Series. He moves to the 31 Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet on the Cup Series. Hemrick's moving up the ladder at 27 years old. He's been knocking on the door of the top series for a couple seasons. He is going to be officially a contender for the Sunoco Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
With each driver, I'm going to ask you a question. When I get to the next one, we've already talked about it, but I'll have a second question. But for this one, is it too early, basically, to stamp Daniel Hemrick as the Rookie of the Year?
I would probably say that, I think if you look at this year's rookie class, I think it's going to be 3 guys to watch this year. Daniel Hemrick, was in a really good ride with Richard Childress Racing. And then, of course, Ryan Preece, he's going to be in a really good ride with JTG Doherty Racing. And then you got Matt Tiff, which, of course, he goes to Front Row Motorsports next year. But I don't know. I'd probably say like it's not too early like to say he's rookie of the year, but I kind of have him as my predicted rookie of the year this year because let's face it, I mean Priest did pretty good in the Xfinity series, so did Matt Tift as well, and Hemrick did too, and I can pretty much say this is going to be a one to watch next season, and not to mention, of course, with NASCAR having the new rules package for next year, it can play favorites with some of the drivers that that haven't like ran up front before. But I just look at Hemrick. I mean, yeah, I could probably say that. Um, He's predicted as my rookie of the year, no question about it.
Okay. I'm buying it all the way. Next driver, we already talked about him, but we're going to talk about him again. Kurt Busch, his old ride was the number 41 Stewart Haas Racing 4. He moves to the number 1 Chip Ganassi Racing Chevrolet. The 2004 champ replaces Jamie McMurray. He's a 30-time winner with 6 wins at SHR. Qualified for the playoffs all 5 seasons that they've had the playoffs. Can we expect more of the same out of Kurt Busch in his new home?
I think we're going to expect a lot out of this one team. And I think if you look at it, Ganassi is a good race team if you look at it. And like I said before, not only he's going to be a one to watch, but I think Ganassi's Cup team is going to be a one to watch next year as well. Because if you look at it, I mean, they did do as great last year, and everyone expected, Kyle Larson to run up front, win races, make the championship 4. Well, none of that didn't happen
Slide
this year.
job.
Yeah, none of that didn't happen this year. And then, of course, the slide job. But no, I look at Kurt Busch, and I think he's going to do a lot more great things than what he did this past season at Stewart Haas Racing in the last few years. I mean, yeah, he did have the one win this year. He almost went to the championship 4. I get it. But I think if you look at next year, I think he's going to be fun to watch.
When you look back at his former teams, yes, he had great success, in my opinion, great success in the Stewart Haas cars. They were Chevys, then they moved to Fords. Yes, he gets the win in the Ford. Yes, all this, but Kurt Busch and Chevy almost rides hand in hand. He won a championship, I believe, in a Chevy with no, it was a Ford. Roush, the '97 Sharpie car.
Yes.
Okay. But he's driven a lot of Chevys. I really think, and especially Ganassi is so determined to put winners out there. Kyle Larson having a bad season aside, that was bad luck Jones. Kurt Busch was up front and in the hunt more than he was in the back of the field. Right. So I expect more of the same. I expect better results this season, 2019, than we saw in 2018 from Kurt Busch.
Absolutely.
Moving right along. Big news that I did not know about, and I don't know how this passed me by and why Corey didn't tell me, which I'm going to have to put you under administrative review for this. Ryan Newman, obviously, we know he's out of the 31 Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet, but he moves to the 6 of Roush Fenway Fords. After 5 seasons with RCR, Newman's going to be moving on and teaming with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's an 18-time winner. He scored RCR's first win in 2013, and in 2017, he was among the championship 4 in 2014. There's a lot to like about Ryan Newman. There's a lot to worry about with Ryan Newman, other than the fact that he shares a birthday with me. The biggest thing to worry about with Ryan Newman is I think sometimes teams focus more, and especially at RCR in the last couple of years, I think RCR focused more on Austin Dillon than they did on Ryan Newman. I think when Newman was with Stewart Haas, they focused more on Stewart and Kevin Harvick than they did on Ryan Newman. You can go back to his days with Penske. They focused more on the Rusty Wallaces and the Kurt Busches and the Brad Keselowskis than they did on Ryan Newman. If you give Newman top-notch equipment every single week and you give him the attention that his car deserves, not so much the man, but his car deserves, Ryan Newman can win a championship.
Yeah, I could say too, but here's the problem with this. So this year he only scored 9 top 10s and an average finish of 17.2. And honestly, like in my opinion, it's not really as good as what it was back in 2017 when he scored that one win. But now you have him going to Roush Fenway Racing next year. And I kind of thought about this and I said to myself, all right, so the sixth car wasn't even anywhere in the top 10 last year. In fact, that team was in the top 30 in points throughout the whole entire season. And I kind of thought to myself, all right, so Ryan Newman going to Roush Fenway, I was kind of questioned about that. But then, of course, I thought, all right, when Newman first got into NASCAR, he started off driving in a Ford. And then,
Mhm.
of course, sorry about that, which, of course,
Patrick!
oh, no, it was Zach this time. Jesus, why is my phone
Oh,
like, yeah.
you know what?
See, this is
What
my,
we need
okay,
what we
this,
need to do what we need to
yeah,
do is this. Put out a blanket statement for your friends, my friends, anybody. No texting, no calling, no nothing. Unless you're showing up at the front door with wings and beer, do not bother us when we're doing this
right.
show.
See, this is pretty much the example of, calling somebody at the wrong time, and it's just like, no. But no, I think if you kind of look at it, I mean, I kind of thought to myself, all right, so when Newman first got into NASCAR, he started driving a Ford, in which he had success driving a Ford when he was in like the Xfinity series and the Cup series. But my only question is if he's going to bring success to Roush Fenway, the way that I have to see it right now is he's gonna have to run a lot better than what he did last year and the last few years at RCR. Because let's be honest, the guy only scored one win for Richard Childress, and now you have Roush Fenway, which of course they haven't been successful ever since Carl Edwards and Greg Biffle and Matt Kenseth and all those guys left. And now here's this team that's just been rebuilding ever since I don't know 2014, whatever it is, because and of course, I get the fact that Stenhouse he won 2 races at Talladega and Daytona. I get that, which of course he's a good plate racer. But what
Mhm.
has he done all season? He hasn't really done as anything. I mean, yeah, he's snuck in a top 5, top 10 here and there. But of course, he hasn't really done anything since. And then of course you had Trevor Bayne, which I really thought that, this year was probably the worst season that he's ever had in his career. And now that he's gone, I don't think anybody's going to pick him up unless, he goes back down to like the Truck Series or Xfinity, whatever it is, and so forth. But
That's the guy. That's the guy that Hattori's going to pick up. I guarantee it.
yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised on that. But I'm going to keep my close eye on Roush Fenway next year and see how they do. If they run strong, the first 10 races in 2019, I'll probably say to myself, all right, this could be a team that they'll be good in the playoffs, but I don't see them going into like the championship 4 or something like that.
Ryan Newman finds a way to win dominant or sneak a win. Ryan Newman finds a way to put himself in the conversation in those championship battles. I remember 2014 like it was yesterday. I remember the only car that made me sweat during that entire race at Homestead Miami Speedway, sitting in my old apartment, not far from where I live now, was Ryan Newman. Because obviously you want Kevin Harvick to win, but I have a really good friend, Frank Sadowski. Frank, big ups to you, big Ryan Newman fan. If I couldn't win, I wanted Frank's driver to win. So, but he made me sweat. Ryan Newman was just right there. And if you remember, he finished second in that 2014 battle. So Ryan Newman can get it done. I don't think this has a whole lot to do with him losing his skill. I think that RCR may or may not have given him in favor of the golden grandchild, Austin Dillon.
And then of course, you have, RCR that's focusing on their young drivers that are trying to move up into the Cup Series as well.
Exactly. So let's move on. Last year's champion, Martin Truex Jr., his previous ride was the number 78 Furniture Road Racing Toyota. He makes the move to the Joe Gibbs 19 Monster Energy Toyota. Um, Obviously, the champion moves on to JGR after a marvelous, fantastic run with Furniture Row Racing that saw him win 17 times over 5 seasons. At JGR, Martin Truex Jr. remains a strong title contender. Martin won 4 times this year. Do we see 4 or more this season?
I'm going to say more. I have to say more on this because, let's be honest. I mean, Martin Truex, has to be probably the most dominant driver there is like in a season. I mean, yeah, This he almost won the championship a year ago, or this year, or whatever I could say. But
This year.
but now that he's going to Joe Gibbs next year, and now that he's going to that 19 ride, I kind of thought to myself, I could definitely see all four of the Gibbs guys making the playoffs next year.
So you got Kyle Busch,
Yep.
you got Hamlin,
Hmm.
you got Truex.
Yep.
I'm blanking on the fourth
Eric
one.
Jones.
Uh, Eric Jones.
Yep.
Am I right?
Yep.
Eric Jones.
Yes.
Eric Gimmick Jones. Okay. So I think you're right. I think all four can make the playoffs. Here's my problem. We've been in the if you're in the world of JGR, if you're a fan of Hamlin, Jones, Bush, you know that Joe Gibbs puts his heart and his soul into this team. Will we see a Ryan Newman-esque kind of situation where all the attention, all the love, all the equipment, all the power goes to the 18 and the 11, the 19, and the 20 suffer? Or are we going to see even equipment all the way around, even love, even attention all the way around, and these four guys are the big four?
I'm gonna say probably even equipment if you think about it, because there was actually one time, I think 2005. I think I think it was at that time. I think it was like all four, maybe five Roush Fenway guys made the playoffs that year, and I think if you look at it, I mean, yeah, there's only 16 drivers that make the playoffs in Cup, so it wouldn't really surprise me if all four of the Gibbs guys makes the playoffs next year. Well, my only concern about this is that, if Hamlin can get off to a good start next year, that would be good for him. And of course, Eric Jones, he won last year at Daytona, or this year at Daytona. And then, of course, Kyle Busch went to the championship four, couldn't pull it off. And now you got Truex, who almost won the championship this year, too. So I think the 19 car, I think, is also going to be a one to watch, too, because, when Daniel Suarez was at Joe Gibbs for the last 2 years, I still remember the fact that, they brought him up too early because after Carl Edwards left, JGR pretty much said, all right, he's going to be our guy we're going to have to put him in the car because, there's no other driver we could choose. And let's be honest. I mean, Suarez, he had some decent runs the last 2 years. Yes, he's finished the top five once, maybe a few times, but there was a point where I guess he said that, he just didn't really have like the good chemistry, when he was at Gibbs, because, even though he was brought up from Xfinity too early, he just didn't really like get to know like the Cup races and then the cars and everything else real well. But no matter where Suarez goes next year, I think he's going to be in good equipment. There's no question about it. And I look at the 19 car, I mean, I could probably see them win maybe four, or hey, they could probably win more than four races next year.
More than likely, I agree with you. All right, so we move on. Ryan Preece. We've talked about him for the half season we did for the first CNJ Speedway Review run. This whole 2018 season, we have gone race to race, end to end, and we have always talked up Ryan Preece. In fact, the day that you and I met, he finished second in that race. Who won
Yes.
that race? Do you remember?
Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch won that race. Good job. Well, Ryan Preece is moving from the number 18 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota and moving up to JTG Doherty Racing Chevrolet, number 47, on the Monster Energy Cup Series. Preece has turned heads with 2 wins in very limited Xfinity starts with JGR, and now he will contend for the Rookie of the Year honors in 2019 in a car that reached the 2014 playoffs. I got to ask you, is Priest? I asked you this about Hemrick,
Yep.
and now I have to ask. We're throwing Ryan Priest into the mix. These are going to be the big two of rookies. I'm going to talk about one more rookie going forward. However, who's going to have better success, Priest or Hemrick?
I'm going to have to say Hemrick.
Okay, and we'll move on. Another piece of the silly season puzzle is Matt DiBenedetto. His previous ride was the number 32 Go Fast Racing Ford. His new ride is the number 95 Levine Family Racing on the Monster Energy Series. The California native has 3 top 10s in the past 2 seasons. and will get an opportunity in a car that will have tech support from JGR. He should see an uptick in results. Matt DiBenedetto, as much as I dig him, not the most successful guy in the world. Is this a good move for Matt DiBenedetto, or is this a step down?
See, I think this is kind of a good move because if you look at it, I mean, Levine Family Racing, they're kind of the average team as of right now. But since they switched manufacturers to Toyota and now that they're aligned with Joe Gibbs Racing, it's going to be kind of like the last few years when, Furniture Row, they switched to Toyota and then they were aligned with Joe Gibbs Racing. And look what they got them last few years. They won races, they won a championship. And then, of course, this year they almost won the championship again. But I think if you look at it now that Levine Family Racing is switching to Toyota, I think you might want to take a look at that team next year because this could be a team that could possibly sneak into the top five in one of these races. I mean, I could see him probably getting like a top five, maybe a win if he's lucky. That is, if it's on like the super speedways, whatever it is, and so forth. But I could see them, finishing like top 20, maybe top 10, the way I kind of look at it.
Okay. Our last driver on my particular list of silly season drivers is the aforementioned Matt Tifft. His previous ride was the number 2 Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet on the Xfinity Series. He is going to move up to the number 36 Front Row Motorsports Ford on the Monster Energy Series. He's had 2 playoff seasons at JGR and RCR. Tifft is moving up to the expanded 3-car lineup with David Reagan and Michael McDowell. Tifft has yet to make a Cup Series start at all, but is eligible for the Sunoco Rookie of the Year honors. Is Matt Tifft the forgotten rookie?
Well, I would probably say maybe on this one, but I think if you look at Front Row Motorsports, I mean, they're pretty much not the worst team if you look at it. I mean, let's be honest, they did win a race with David Reagan one time, but this is one team that really runs well when it comes to super speedway racing. But other than that, nowhere else in between. But you look at Tiff. I mean, yeah, he's kind of a consistent driver. I mean, he's been quiet this year when he was at Xfinity, but I think if you look at it, I could see this kid running consistent next year. I mean, not really like the best, but I could see him like getting a few good runs here and there.
Are you going to say top half of the field?
Yeah, I'll say top half.
Okay, fair enough. Do you have any more news stories before I show these fantastic people what I want to give away to one lucky fan?
So you talk about Earnhardt, and you talk about Jeffrey. So did you know that? Did you know that Jeffrey's going to be running a few races next year for Joe Gibbs and Xfinity?
I did not.
So Jeffrey Earnhardt, he's going to be running, I think, 9 races next year on a part-time schedule for Joe Gibbs Racing. His debut is going to be at Daytona in February. So I kind of thought about this and I said, okay, so this is like Ryan Preece all over again. When he made his debut at New Hampshire, finished second, and the next thing you know, he wins in the second start. Come to think of it, I could probably see this, with Jeffrey in particular, because that 18 car, it's a good ride. That's won many
Mm-hmm.
races with Preece and Kyle Busch and whoever's driven in that car at Xfinity. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jeffrey has a good run next year, maybe wins a race or two, and then all of a sudden somebody picks him up from like whatever top team it is in like Xfinity or Cup, and then next thing you know, boom, he's with a top team next year in like the Cup Series or the Xfinity Series, possibly in like 2020. But I kind of when they first announced that they were going to put Jeffrey inside the car, I thought, all right, so here's another kid that that's been in pretty much low average equipment, that's been with like an underfunded race team a few times, and now he's here driving for top equipment. So I think this is what we're probably going to be seeing. I think within like the next year or so, you're going to see all these like average guys that are going to be driving in top gear equipment.
I have to ask because we've seen fathers, sons, for every Ned Jarrett, Dale Jarrett, you have Richard Petty, Kyle Petty. For every Dale Earnhardt Jr., you have I had it in my head right now. Darn it, I can't think of it. It doesn't matter. Sometimes the son doesn't always eclipse the father. But now we have a fourth generation Earnhardt. Granddad, Ralph, was a legend on the North Carolina dirt tracks.
Yep.
Obviously, we all know what Dale Sr. did on the Cup Series. We all know what Dale Jr. did on the Cup Series. And I think he was two-time Busch slash Xfinity champion. So Jeffrey Earnhardt has racing in his blood. Is he going to be Dale Jarrett or is he going to be Kyle Petty?
I could possibly see him maybe Jarrett.
Okay, I'll buy it. So, guys, I want to give away something. And when I say something, I want to give away many pieces of a collection that I've had for years and years. And I'll explain to you what you have to do to win this as we go on. So let me show you. If you are a Jeff Gordon fan, this is the contest you want to win. Why? Because I have a gag with more than 10 of Jeff Gordon 164th diecasts right here in my possession that I want to give away to one lucky fan. Do you know who's disqualified from this? Corey Huffnagel. That's who. So I want to start with Jeff Gordon, Winner's Circle, played for a billion Chevrolet Gimmick Jones right here.
Mm.
You see that? Let's move on to the Jeff Gordon, 1994 DuPont Automotive Finishes Lumina, the original Rainbow Warrior right there.
Yep.
You see that?
That's a really good car too.
Yep. Moving right along, we have the Daytona 500 edition. I'm missing the year here. I need a new prescription. This is Speed Weeks 99. Sorry. Jeff Gordon. These are all sealed, by the way. These have never been opened. Moving right along, we have the Jeff Gordon DuPont Pepsi. This has always been one of my favorite cars. This is a sexy
Mm.
ass car right here.
Yeah.
Some of these come with the little hood gimmicks, some of them don't. Not my problem. You want them, you win them. This is the autographed hood series, and when I say autographed, it's an imprinted autograph of the, what year is this? See, they should just put it right on the thing and not make me search. But if you remember the red, white, and blue American flag, Firecracker
Yeah.
400, Coke Zero, Gimmick Schnabitz Fernum, that's that car right there. We have here the black test car. Remember those stupid Car of Tomorrow with the wing? Well,
Yeah.
here you go. 24A. Jeff Gordon test car right
Mm.
there. We have here another Pepsi car. This is Jeff Gordon 1999 Pepsi Monte Carlo right here. Looks
Okay.
nice. I like it. I dig it. This one is the Jeff Gordon 2001 championship commemorative one with a magnet inside of the flame car. You can see the flames right here.
Mm.
Number 24. Jeff Gordon fans around the world are losing their stuff. We already have one car like this, but this one is slightly different of the Play for a Billion car with the hood this time.
Yep.
We have the Jeff Gordon official fan flame Monte Carlo right here.
Mm.
Here's where it starts to get a little more sexy. We have a repeat, which is the 94 Lumina, but this is a different card backing. I was a huge NASCAR car collector. This is the 1996. He finished second to Terry Labonte in this season, but this is the 96 version of
Mm.
Jeff Gordon's car right here. We have right here the IROC series Jeff Gordon in the number 6 car, number 6 True Value Jeff Gordon car.
Yeah.
One of, again, I talk about when I say a paint scheme is sexy, it just means you look at it and you can't take your eyes off it. This was the DuPont Chroma Premier with a race hood right here. I don't know if you guys can get
Yeah.
a glimpse of that. If you're listening on audio only, you lose out. But now the pièce de résistance or the pizza resistance, depending on how you look at it. This is Jeff Gordon's 1990 Beast MP Sprint Series car.
Wow.
Yeah, right? You think that's good? Let's move on. Right now, we have Jeff Gordon 1990 Diet Pepsi midget car in the number 4, right here. And one of my favorites in the entire collection is the 1985 Pro Debut Sprint car, number 16, the Lifetime Series, right here. It's a gorgeous looking vehicle. 17 cars. Matt Kenseth, Darrell Waltrip, Ricky Stenhouse, Junior Jones. 17 cars can be yours. There's only one way to get it. Go to the C&J Speedway Review Facebook page. You tell us in 100 words or less why you are the biggest Jeff Gordon fan of anyone. Corey and I will sift through the entries. We will decide on a winner. As long as their name is not Zach, Patrick, or Chelsea, we will pick a winner. Is that a cat?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that shook me to my core right there. Tell us why you are the biggest Jeff Gordon fan, and you have until January 24th. Ah, you see what I did there?
Oh, yep, I get it.
January 24th, you have to go to the Facebook page, like it, and send us in 100 words or less why you are the biggest Jeff Gordon fan. These 17 cars will be yours for your collection out of my personal collection, which has been pared down over the years. And we, Corey and I, when we do the Daytona bit, we will sign something for you. I have a little something here that nobody knows about, not even Corey, but I'm going to bring it. We're going to sign it, and we'll send it to you along with these cars when we do the Daytona 500 live from the Azarju Mini Mansion in Uncasville, Connecticut. And much like Sherry got her flag, hopefully, you will get something from us because
Right.
that's what we do. That's what we do. So, Corey, unless you have any other news stories, do you have anything to pimp, plug, or otherwise push upon the people?
So pretty much follow the C&J Speedway Review. We are on Facebook. And then, of course, Twitter, we are at CJ_Speedway. Instagram, we are at CJ Speedway. And then, of course, follow us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, then you'll get notifications when we go live and before we go live, and then when we get uploaded and everything and so forth. So I want to give a shout out to my dad, which, of course, Dad, I love you. And, of course, Chelsea, I love you too.
Dog!
See, look what I did on that part.
I want you to do me a favor in the next couple weeks, Corey, just so you know how much this hurts me. I want you to download the Jim Cornette Experience or Cornette's Drive-Thru on whatever podcast app you use. His co-host, Jim Cornette's co-host, is a man named Brian Last. Brian Last has a podcast called the 605 Super Podcast. And when he promotes it, he yells out, "The mothership," and Cornette goes nuts. Which is the mothership is my Chelsea, I love you. So you'll know when you hear it and Brian says, and this week on the 605 Super Podcast, the mothership, and when Cornette's skin crawls, you'll know what I mean.
Okay.
All right. And it's a fun time. Anyway, Chelsea, I love you too. Whatever. I get it. Since we will not see you until the day after Christmas, I want to wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. If you want to watch some great holiday movies, go find Freeform, the voice of Christmas, and have fun. That was from Angela, by the way. She gave me that a few days ago, and I told her I'd use it on the show. You're watching Freeform, the voice of Christmas. So have fun watching Elf. Have fun watching the Santa Claus. Have fun watching everything. Enjoy your families, whatever denomination you are, religion, etc., so forth. This is a great time for family, friends, fellowship, what have you. Just be good to each other. And it doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Is your phone ringing again, Corey Offnagel?
No, it's not ringing this time. I'm just getting notifications.
Okay, fair enough. Doesn't matter who you are, what you do. Just Give your best to your family. Enjoy it. And Corey, if I don't talk to you again before the fantastic Christmas holiday, I hope you and yours have a fantastic, wonderful, Merry Christmas. And we will talk to each other before the start of the new year.
Well, I hope you have a Merry Christmas too, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And guys, even though Eddie steals this every Tuesday night, Corey's going to say the famous two words of every podcast that we ever do. Thank you for watching the C&J Speedway Review. We will talk to you in 2 weeks.
Good night.